All right, seventh graders, we're doing spiral review number 6, and we're starting with your favorite. Right. Okay. Now this one is taken almost directly. I changed one little thing. Taken almost directly from iLearn released items list of problems. So this is the kind of thing they're not going to just ask you one little thing, make it so simple. They're going to make you think about multiple things in one problem. So for example, on this one, we're multiplying fractions and then we're dividing, which we know is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. They don't just give us the answer. They're asking us to tell us which one it's equivalent to, because they can't possibly make it easy, right? So I'm going to rewrite this: -3/4 times 7 over -2. It doesn't really matter where the negative sign goes. But now I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, 8/3. Okay, flip-flop reciprocal. And then I'm going to solve this, okay? There are a couple different ways to approach a problem like this. You might be able to see it pretty quickly, but I'm just going to solve each of them so that you can see. The biggest shortcut here is that you are going to go ahead and multiply your, or simplify anytime that you can see things canceling out. So 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 3 once, okay? 8 has a factor, or 8 goes into, or 4 goes into 8 twice, 4 goes into 4 once. Now 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 2 once. So I'm knocking a lot of stuff out here. All I have left literally is the 7 on the top. So that's going to be 7 over 1. Now this is key. Don't forget about those negative signs. A negative sign was on the middle fraction and a negative sign on the last fraction. So they're going to buddy up and cancel each other out like we talked about in class. So if you can get an answer to simplify to 7 over 1 or 7, then you're going to be good. So on this one right here, it's going to be 1 times 7 is 7, because I can't see a way to simplify. 2 times 2 is 4, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So that's not 7, that's 7/4. This one, I can cancel out my 2's. I'm going to have 7 on the top and 1 on the bottom. That's promising, except right here, we've got a negative sign right there. I'm going to go in a little bit. Okay. So that one's going to be a -7 or -7 over 1. This one is going to be -7 over 4. And this one is going to be, cancel out those 2's, 7 over 1, or yay, 7. So your answer on this one is 2. All right, so you need to do the same thing. I gave you the exact same type of problem where you're going to multiply, flip this and multiply it as well, cancel out and simplify as much as you can, get an answer, and then see which answer it's going to match for number 2. The next section is going to go pretty quickly. I love to tell you guys to do your little cheat sheet. 1/2 equals 0.5 equals 50%. And that helps remind you which way to move your decimal when you are doing these fraction problems, or excuse me, not fractions, percentage problems, okay? So if I have 50%, if I want to make it a decimal, I'm going to scoot my decimal to the left twice. If I've got a decimal and I want to make it percent, I'm going to scoot my decimal to the right. So instead of remembering left and right, you can just keep that simple example in your mind, because you're going to flip-flop left and right. I guarantee it. So I'm going decimal to percent, which means I'm scooching to the right. So this is so fast and easy. Scooch. That's going to be 30%. Okay, you can put a little 0 in there. Scooch. That's 120%. Scooch, 56%, and so on. So the opposite is when I got a little carried away. I kept going so fast, I didn't realize I got to leave some problems for you guys to do. So now I've got a percentage, and I'm going to scooch to the left and get my decimal that way. So my decimal's hidden back here. Scooch, 0.17. You can put a placeholder in front. Let's do this one. 350. Scooch. That is 3.5. Okay, so don't be thrown off if there's a decimal in the middle of a percentage. It's possible. Okay, just remember the right direction to move your decimal and use your little cheat sheet. 1/2 equals 0.5 equals 50%. All right, the last set of problems that I have for you are all on circumference. Okay, so circumference is just the fancy way. Circles get all their own little fancy sayings. Circumference is simply the way that we say perimeter for a circle. And some guy a long time ago, some mathematician, I don't even know who, probably Greek mathematician, I'm showing my ignorance here, he figured out the relationship of the diameter with the number pi, and how that if you multiply them, they're going to equal circumference. So if you know how to solve equations, and you do, because I've taught you, especially these simple equations, you know that you could just plug in the things you know and solve for that missing piece. So circumference equals pi times diameter. That's what I just told you. Diameter is that line that cuts straight through the middle of a circle and it goes all the way across. So diameter is 8, and I know pi. All I have to do is multiply those. And sometimes they'll say, it put the answer in terms of pi, and you just say, oh, that's 8 pi. Okay. Or you can get out your calculator, go ahead and do that on these problems. 8 times pi, we're going to round that to 3.14. And when we multiply, we're going to get 25.12. So circumference equals 25.12. And we're talking about inches. Okay, so let's label that. And we're talking about one dimension. We're not talking about filling it. That's area. Perimeter or circumference is going to wrap around its edge. So we're keeping it just inches, not inches squared, not inches cubed. All right. On this one, you know the circumference is 31.4. You know pi. So you have to solve for d. So you know that this is 3.14. Round it to 3.14. When you're doing problems like this, if they haven't told you. And now if it's beside it, divide it. Divide that 3.14 away on both sides. Now D is happy and alone, and you're going to get an answer for how long your diameter is. That's going to tell you how far across our circle is. Last but not least, I'm throwing you a tricky one here. The radius is 2. The radius is the distance from the center of the circle out to the edge. So if you put 2 of those perfectly next to each other, guess what? The diameter. Okay, so if your radius is 2 inches, your diameter must be twice that. It's 2 times 2. That's going to be your diameter. And then you plug in, just like we did on this one, you know your diameter, you can plug in and solve for what your circumference is going to be. Okay, we haven't had a chance to get to that yet, but I wanted to kind of revisit that early or look at that early so that by the time iLearn comes in April, you guys have seen this many times there. Look good. Okay, so last question, since President's Day is coming up, if you were president of the United States, what would be the first political thing that you would do? And I have my answer here. Mrs. Lander's answer, I would change us all to the metric system because, oh my gosh, we would understand that even better if we all use the metric system. I think we're at a disadvantage with our current system of customer units. So confusing, miles and all that kind of stuff. So if you have any questions, you know where to find me. I'm happy to help you. Email me a screenshot if you have a question or anything like that. You gotta let me know. I can't read your mind. Bye guys.